Hey, thanks for joining me today. It's Friday, March 4th. It's a fact check Friday, but first, flame on. There we go. I do want to thank everyone that likes, comments, subscribes, shares this video. It does make a difference. I appreciate you. Let's go for 100 likes on this video. I think we can do it with your help. Today, we're going to dunk on CNN, but not just me, because that's too easy. I'm going to enlist your help. I want you to help me dunk on CNN. And I think that we can do this because if you're a subscriber to this channel, if you've watched this for a while, I believe that you're probably more of a critical thinker than the average CNN viewer. And for this fact check, we're not even going to go to any other sources. We're going to look at CNN's own fact check video, and we're going to use that video to determine if they're telling the truth or not. Okay, so here is an example just in the lead-in of this story.
In a new op-ed, the former vice president says the election was, quote, marked by significant voting irregularities and numerous instances of officials setting aside state election law, and that he is concerned, quote, about the integrity of the 2020 election. Okay, so there we go. That's the first claim. That's before we even get to their fact checker. That's just the introduction to the story. And the claim, Pence says that the election had significant irregularities. Now, we don't exactly know what significant means. Just a good number, I guess. The election had some irregularities, but let's see how CNN deals with this. Patently false. Proved false by Trump's own Attorney General Bill Barr and Trump's former FBI Director Chris Wray just yesterday when he said that there were no irregularities on a scale that would have changed the outcome of the 2020 election. Okay, well, there you go. There you go. In the intro to this, CNN says the irregularities wouldn't change the result of the election. Pence never made the claim that the irregularities would have changed the result of the election. He didn't make that claim. He just said there were voting irregularities. It's a bit of a shifting of the goalpost, if you will. That's kind of like, I've used this example before, Super Bowl 40, where there were a lot of really bad officiating calls against the Seattle Seahawks. That's true. And if you were to say, boy, there were a bunch of bad calls against the Seahawks, well, if someone were to fact check that and say, there is no evidence that the bad calls were enough to change the result of the Steelers winning Super Bowl 40, you would say, yeah, I never made that claim, right? I said there were some bad calls. There were bad calls. In this case, Mike Pence said there were some voting irregularities. There were some voting irregularities. But what do you expect from CNN? This is what they do. Let's go to the video. CNN's Daniel Dale is with us for a fact check here. What else? Now, right off the bat, this is Daniel Dale. It's their chief Trump hater. For the last 4 years, he's been fact checking Trump, every single thing he's ever said. Now that Trump is gone, what can CNN's fact checker do? I know he can fact check Mike Pence, right? That's what's going on. But I do want to draw your attention to something that CNN is doing here. You can see in the Chiron that Pence pushes big lie. And I want you to know what the reference they're making is. The big lie is die große Lüge, right? This is a German term. It's a propaganda technique associated with someone, I don't know, 85 years ago that had a funny mustache over there in Germany, right? That's what the big lie is an association to. That is, if you tell a lie big enough, often enough, over and over and over again, people will start to believe it. It's a propaganda technique, and it's associated with some people that most people think of as negatively. And in this case, CNN is using that association about Republicans, about Pence, about Trump. They keep talking about this big lie, and they've made that association, and I think that association is really disgusting. I don't think you should associate something from 85 years ago from a terrible, terrible group with someone today. But that's what CNN does because they're CNN. So let's get to the fact checks.
Did Pence put out there, and what was a kind of a lengthy op-ed?
It was. The primary purpose of this op-ed was an attack on the Democrats' election bill known as H.R. 1. And even leaving aside, Brianna, the big lie stuff about the 2020 election, there was a significant amount of dishonesty just in the H.R. 1 part of the op-ed. For example, Pence claimed that this Democratic bill would ban voter ID nationwide.
So that is claim number one, and I'm going to ask you to listen to his explanation and see if you buy it.
It would not, in fact, do so. What it would do is require states that do have voter ID to allow voters who are not presenting their identification to present a sworn statement attesting to their identity.
So what do you think about CNN's fact checker, Daniel Dale? His explanation. He says that this would not ban voter ID. It would just no longer require voters to show ID. They could sign a piece of paper. What do you think? Do you think that's a fair fact check? Let me know in the comments. Let's get to fact check number 2.
Pence also claimed that anyone who's listed in a government database, state and federal, would have to be added to the voter registration rolls under the automatic voter registration system in the bill. He said, including millions of undocumented immigrants.
So claim number 2 is Mike Pence is saying that everyone is going to be added to the voter rolls, including undocumented immigrants if they, say, get a driver's license. Let's see what CNN's fact checker says about that one.
In fact, undocumented immigrants would continue to be prohibited from voting under this bill. Nothing changes federal law limiting voting to U.S. citizens.
So the claim is that these illegal immigrants would be added to the voter rolls, and his explanation is not they wouldn't be added to the voter rolls, because that would be the easy way to debunk it. He said that they would still not be allowed to vote legally. What do you think about that explanation? Let me know in the comments. And let's get to claim number 3.
Now, Pence also claimed that the bill would require states to accept, he said, every mail-in ballot that arrives up to 10 days after the election.
So claim number 3 is they'd have to accept every mail-in ballot up to 10 days after the election. Let's see the fact checker's response to this one.
This is highly misleading at best. The bill will require states to accept ballots that were postmarked on or before Election Day and then arrived up to 10 days after the election.
Now, what do you think about claim number 3? Pence claimed that they would accept ballots up to 10 days after the election, and CNN's fact checker said, hey, they wouldn't have to accept ballots that weren't postmarked on time, right? Does that sound like a good fact check to you? I want to know what you think about claim number 3 in the comments. And those are 3 simple claims. I kind of left it up to you to determine whether or not you buy what CNN is selling. But I would like to know your thoughts in the comments. I do appreciate everyone. Hit that like button, sharing this video. It's a beautiful day today in Portland, so I'm going to go ride. I hope you have a great weekend. Peace.
Thank you.